Hi, I'm Graham. Welcome back to my channel. This is the third video that we're making so far. Thank you so much for all the support for the first two videos. I'm so excited that we've actually started the channel now. I know when people first start making YouTube channels, it's really hard to get going and hard to get it off the ground. And we've already started with so many subscribers and so many comments on the first two videos. So thank you so much. It means so much to me. And I'm just really excited with your support where this channel can go in the future. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button down below because it definitely helps us out with visibility, and we're a new channel, so we're still getting off the ground a little bit. But for this video, we're gonna be tackling my bathroom mirror. So this mirror is not gonna be like a regular mirror. I'm gonna be trying new things I haven't tried before. All right, so let's jump into it. So Alexandra sent me an inspo photo for a checkered mirror. Obviously, the first thing that catches your eye in the inspo photo is the checker pattern, the chessboard checker pattern. It reminds me of old school Vans high tops back in the day that I had, but it was wavy and it had a really thick mirror frame to it. It's very bold, it's different. It's definitely gonna be the standout piece in the bathroom. So I'm just looking forward to tackling it. So for the mirror, I wanted to use a material that I haven't used before, but I've seen a lot of people online use it, and it's this rigid insulation foam. It comes in a 2x8 sheet, and I think it costs about 20 bucks, which is pretty good because I'm gonna be using only about this much of it. For every single DIY I do, I always need to draw it out first. Just pen on paper. It helps me just try to visualize what the DIY is gonna look like in terms of size, but also design-wise too. For my bathroom, it's a little bit tricky because it is such a small space. Drawing it out just allows me to avoid any issues that might arise later on. I'm using a permanent marker to draw two rough shapes on the insulation foam. Now that I'm happy with the shape, I'm using a jigsaw to cut out the mirror frame. So the mirror in the inspo photo had rounded edges, and I know that's something I wanted to recreate on this mirror as well. I measure and draw a line that's 1 inch away from the corner on both the edge side and the face side, and using a rasp, I'm rounding the edges, trying not to tear out the insulation. I'm using some hand sandpaper to smooth out the rounded edges. Since the insulation is really soft compared to wood, it tends to want to tear and crumble apart, so just be very careful when you're rounding the edges or sanding the insulation. Next up is cutting the mirror. As you guys know, I don't have the best track record with cutting glass. You okay?
Yeah. Tempered glass.
It's not a comfortable thing to do. It's highly stressful. Glass is very fragile, believe it or not. You either cut it or you break it. If you can, what I do is I always keep my eye out for old mirrors on the sidewalk, and I just have a whole bunch of old dirty mirrors in the workshop. So I have a ton of glass that I can always just pull out and cut a new mirror if the first cut I do doesn't go well. Buying a mirror brand new is pretty expensive, and people are throwing them out all the time. It's definitely a valuable thing to have on hand. So next up is cutting the mirror. Because the insulation foam isn't strong or structural, I'm cutting a piece of 1/8 inch MDF that will serve as the backing board for the mirror. Using a pistol grip glass cutter, I'm etching the glass along the line that I traced. If you've ever cut glass before, glass wants to break in straight lines. So cutting a curved shape on a piece of glass is actually pretty difficult. It's not impossible, it's just a little bit more tricky. So I'm etching some additional straight lines that lead from the center of the glass to the edge so I can break the glass off in different sections. My tip to you is just take your time. Make sure that when you're etching the glass, you're etching it all in one go properly with good pressure. When you're breaking it, make sure that it's supported properly. Don't rush the process because it will always blow up in your face. I'm cutting out the MDF backing board with a jigsaw, and once I have it cut, I'm tracing a line on the back of the insulation and using a router with a depth stop to remove the material. This is so that MDF can sit flush. I'm doing the same process for the mirror. I'm tracing the mirror within the MDF inlay and removing the material with a router. Dang, look at that. Wow. Now that the glass and MDF is all prepped, I'm priming the insulation with a couple coats of shellac primer and then painting the whole frame with a couple coats of white glossy Rust-Oleum spray paint. I'm then using painter's tape to make a checkerboard pattern on the frame and using an X-Acto knife to clean up each square and remove any extra tape. I'm then covering the entire surface, including on top of the painter's tape, with a glossy black Rust-Oleum spray paint. So now that the paint is dried, I'm kidding.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I wish I could pretend like this painting process was really easy, but I came across so many issues along the way that I think you guys could learn from, so you don't have to go through the same issues that I encountered. When applying the spray paint, be sure that the spray paint is first safe on insulation. Insulation tends to melt with oil-based spray paint. So in my case, I was quite lucky. Because I used the shellac primer, it made it so that it was impermeable to the oil spray paint. But when I used the X-Acto knife to cut the painter's tape away, it did open up some unprepped insulation, and I found that it was creating these like little troughs and divots wherever there was a hole or scratch on the primer. So secondly, be very light with your coats. Don't go too heavy. I found that I wanted to go really heavy with each coat so that I could see a solid color. What I didn't know is that it just takes a really long time to dry. My third tip, you have to follow the instructions on the can. Wait a full 48 hours in between coats. Don't rush it. If the first coat is still a little wet, when you apply the second coat, what happens is that it like raises up and it creates all these like wrinkles and it re-softens the paint pretty much. And then you have to sand it down and you got to repaint it all over again. And that's what I had to do a couple times.
How many times do you think you did paint this thing?
I think I probably painted it around 5 or 6 times. But if you follow the instructions on the can properly, light passes, multiple coats, you'll be able to do this better than me. So now that the paint is dried, I'm removing the painter's tape and sealing the mirror with a couple coats of satin polyurethane. And you don't have to do this step, but because this mirror is going in a bathroom with a lot of humidity, I decided to seal it on top of the spray paint. Finally, I'm gluing the MDF and mirror to the mirror frame using construction adhesive, and I'm putting some paint cans on the back of the mirror in order to weigh it down until it dries. So what did I learn and what can I do differently? I think firstly, spray paint's no joke. Definitely follow the instructions on the back of the can. Don't freeball it. Secondly, when you're cutting a glass mirror, take your time, wear goggles. Another thing that I learned that I already knew but decided not to do for some reason, whenever I use painter's tape, I always seal the edges of the painter's tape with the same color of paint that's underneath it. I did not do this. Instead, I used the two most contrasting colors, white and black, and I spray painted black on top of the painter's tape, which was unsealed on top of white paint. And so like every other square had paint that kind of like bled underneath it. So I would say that if you're gonna be doing this project and you're gonna paint like a checkerboard grid, definitely spray paint the same color of paint on top of the painter's tape that's underneath it before you apply your second color. So I think this mirror turned out awesome. It's such a unique and beautiful mirror that I get to look at multiple times a day, and I'm so lucky that I'm able to have a DIY that I've made in my own space. However, I am reminded of all the pitfalls, of all the difficulties I came across, but I think the mirror turned out really, really well. I think it's perfect size for this space. It's so complementary to everything else, so bold and so impactful. Couldn't be happier. However, I am looking forward to doing it again, a version 2.0 maybe in the future, using all the tips that I just gave you for myself so I can do it even better. Okay, so thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye.